12.5 laps. And I love that our director has just noted how old school these guys are. But Kaylee on the outside was starting his watch. I love distance runners. Why break the habit of a lifetime? You never know, the clocks inside the stadium could falter. Nothing wrong with a bit of old school. Watch him go for the watch. Far left. There he goes. I love that. Distance runners will be nodding their heads in approval on the sofas or in bed if they're watching in the middle of the night. And good evening or good morning if you're watching in Zambia. We've had a load of messages from there, so real hardcore fans of the sport staying awake into the wee small hours. We're delighted to have your company, whether you're watching in Canada, Kenya, across the Caribbean. I know there are loads of people watching in Jamaica. My goodness me, they're going to be excited for the final of the women's too, but I hope you were cheering Latoya Gould getting into the semis of the women's 800 for you. As we focus now on this first heat of the men's 5, all just very steady in these early stages. Do you know, I love watching Barega, Gail. He has got speed to burn, and he's right at the back at the moment, not really interested in what's going on. Although I'll tell you what he will be interested in, restoring a little bit of pride. The Olympic champion was very much hoping he was going to beat Cheptegei, who's had a quiet season in that 10,000, but Cheptegei accelerated brilliantly around the last lap, and even Barega's raw speed and power was not enough to stop the Ugandan successfully defending his title. I'm talking about the two men who are right at the back. That's Mashal, the very tactically astute Spaniard who's leading at the moment and was 5th in Tokyo last year. Nobody's interested in setting this pace at all. This is an absolute dawdle. Even I could keep up with this. But hang on. But only for a few laps, he hastens to add. No prizes, no medals given out for scorching round the first 3 or 4 laps in low 60s or 55s or 57s, whatever it's going to take on the last lap of the final for whichever one of these men burns it up. Just double checking when the final of the 5 will be. The women's is Saturday evening and the men's is the last distance race. We will have the women's 8 just after the men's 5 on Sunday afternoon. And the last individual track race will be the women's 100 hurdles. And then the relays. Anyway, there's so much still to look forward to, I promise you. Although it does feel, Gail, as though we are kind of edging towards thinking about this is all going to be over, which is so weird because we've been looking forward to this for months, years.
Right. It looks like Barega's decided that, you know what, hanging in the back, this is not a Saturday jog. I think I'll come up to the front and see what's going on. He's hanging now in 4th position.
Yeah, so the merest hint that it's beginning to speed up. What was that, 250 plus bits at the 1K marker? Now, I mentioned people watching all over the world, and I know we have some interested spectators in Australia. And you'll be very interested and delighted to hear that Catriona Bissett launched a counter-appeal to the initial appeal that saw Bello forwarded to the semis, but Bissett not. The Aussies have gone back with another protest, and she has been forwarded to the semi-finals. So Catriona Bissett, who crashed to the ground in the second heat, is going to be in the semi-finals, along with Ilana Bello, whose race she disrupted on her way down. And the moral of that story, if you are a young athlete, no matter how devastated you feel at being pushed to the ground or falling to the ground, always get up and finish your race, because if Bissett had stayed on the ground feeling sorry for herself, she would not have had the grounds on which to mount the protest. Because she got up, even though it was 20 seconds after everyone else had finished, it enabled the Australians to launch the protest, so Bissett will be in the semi-finals. Here ended the lesson. Let's get back on with the here and now.
Love it.
The Olympic 10,000 metre champion, Selimon Barega, is leading from Mashal with Grant Fisher in 3rd place. Nicholas Kipkorea fast fastest man in the world this year with that 12.46 plus bits from Rome. He's in third. And interesting that Joshua Cheptegei, having been at the back, has now decided to pay close order and attention to the leading quartet, because that leading quartet is high quality. As Andy Butchart comes up onto Kip Korea's shoulder, the man who was 6th in Rio, he's really hoping to rediscover some decent form. Chelimo is the other Ugandan, World Junior Cross Country medalist in Aarhus. What an old school course we were treated to in Denmark. There was a brutal hill. It was hard enough to walk up, let alone run up, but a great edition of the World Cross. And Michele takes to that. I wonder if he's going to check his watch for the splits.
It was funny when he came up on the side of Barega. He's like, I'll take this now. I got this. Kind of looked over at him. Here, Kip Korea is coming up on the outside, just wanting to stay in that position, knowing that only the top 5 automatically qualify going to the next round. And I know Fisher is looking to get that hometown flavor with the fans to cheer him on.
And you know, if this continues to be really slow, it massively plays into the hands of the athletes in this second of the heats, because they go into that heat knowing exactly what they have to do in order to take a non-automatic spot. So if they make it fast the second heat, if this continues to be quite slow, you could get 10 through from the second heat. Listening to Tim Hutchings commentate yesterday, and we love Tim, he's quite old school, and he'll probably slap me for that anyway. He is of vintage years, but like a fine wine, he's getting better with age. But anyway, Tim was saying that he would prefer, when you're in this situation with 2 massive heats, he would prefer to say, right, we'll have 7 from one, 8 from the other, or 8 and 8, and you have 16, and there are no non-automatic spots. I personally quite like the intrigue and the drama of the non-automatic places. Where do you stand on that debate?
I'm kind of with you, because I like to see, everybody go for it and see where they have. I like the drama of having to wait. I've been in that position. It's not a good place to be if you have to be the one waiting, but it leads itself for some opening and some drama.
Well, that debate continues, and we'll run and run.
Chelimo was sitting in the back, and I guess he's decided, you guys are really going too slow. I'm going to have to take this out and see who's bold enough to come with me.
Well, I also thought that, but Cheptegei has drifted back in the pack. It's his compatriot Chelimo who's decided to go to the front. Although, as I say that, Cheptegei comes effortlessly past a few and begins to move to the halfway stage of that big pack. So it's Chelimo who's leading, with Cheptegei, the double world champion now over 10,000 metres. And remember, still the reigning world cross country champion, because we haven't had the World Cross yet. That's going to Australia. Fingers crossed, touch with COVID and all that, in February. Cheptegei just on the left there in the middle of your picture, as De Silva of Brazil comes round now to have a little look at the front. And this is the point at which any of these guys who feel they haven't got a raw burst of acceleration come the end of the race decide to make this pace a little more honest, to give themselves half a chance of a non-automatic spot if they think that at least 5 are going to burn them up on the last lap.
And who would you say has the most foot speed, raw foot speed? Would it be Barega?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was surprised. Cheptegei is a brilliant sprinter on the last lap. That's why he won the Olympic title over the 5,000 last year. But Barega was quicker than him in Tokyo, and that's why Barega is the Olympic champion over the 10. So, having said Barega, there have been 1 or 2 signs that by his own ridiculously high standards, Barega's perhaps not quite on the sort of 53-point pace that he can sometimes produce, and that he needed to get him the Olympic title last year. But yeah, the likes of Barega and Cheptegei, this should be fine in theory with a pacey last lap as they come round now with 4 to go. Grant Fisher is at the front, but almost the entire field are queuing up behind him, and this is going to get a little bit tense in the closing stages of this 12 and a half lap battle to make the 5,000 final, which will be on the last day on Sunday evening, and how they will roar. What I've learned about Hayward Field, I kind of assumed, because this is a predominantly American audience, although people have travelled in pockets of people have travelled from around the world, I thought they would make more noise for the sprint events, because I haven't been to Hayward Field before. What I've loved is how engaged and engrossed and how authoritative and knowledgeable this crowd have been about the distance races. The roar before the last lap of both 10,000 finals was absolutely magnificent.
They're starting to separate a little bit, because they make me so nervous when they're so bunched up when it gets towards the end, because I just think something's going to happen and I don't want it to.
Yeah, you never want to see these people flat on the track like Bissett in the second heat of the women's 8. Right then, little by little they're beginning to lose one or two. We've got a little group of 3 off the back now as they jostle for position, all behind Grant Fisher, top 5 remember. Michele, who started his watch, is he going to stop it with the moment of satisfaction of knowing he's in the top 5? You know, Mashal is such a good-looking runner. He's got a lovely, long, fluid stride, big, powerful shoulders. The Spaniard in 4th. Kip Correa, I beg your pardon. The winner of the Rome Diamond League. He's up there. Cheptegei is still in touch in that group. Also in there is Noor, the Somalian, who now represents the United States. Good running as well by CPT of Canada. There was a little glimpse there of how excited the crowd get with these 5,000s. They'll come round the next time and hear the bell. Borrega now coming up on the outside. He's not the tallest figure. Chalimo's drifted off the back. That isn't Cheptegei. Cheptegei's just there in the centre of your picture now. Good work by the camera crew there, just clarifying that the Olympic champion over 5,000 metres is there. And Cheptegei just running in 4th or 5th, just had to give a little nod there to Kip Correa to say, listen, let's not trip each other up. Borrega and Michele. Fisher's on the curb. Cheptegei on the outside where he should be. Good running as well by Kai Robinson of Australia to stay with this group. And having said Mashal is such a good-looking runner, he's looking laboured now. They take the bell in this first heat of the 5,000 metres. And Chalimo, the other Ugandan, has managed to reattach himself to this group as Robinson of Australia comes wide on the outside. Really aggressive piece of acceleration by him. Remember, only the first 5 guaranteed a spot in the final. Noor trying to come through on the inside. So 2 Americans on the inside, 2 Ugandans on the outside, and 2 Ethiopians leading. Kai Robinson just having a little look over his shoulder. He's on the right of picture, the Australian. He's having a good run. Can he find something else? Kip Correa, the Kenyan, the fastest man in the world this year, is a little bit boxed here. Cheptegei with Chalimo coming wide. Fisher still holding that inside line. Robinson's losing a little bit of ground but needs to keep going. Oh, look at this. Big burn up for the line. Chalimo and Cheptegei. Borrega is okay, but Michele will miss out. Good running by Grant Fisher. Butchart and Atkin a long way down. Mashal lost a massive amount of ground on that last lap. I thought he'd been running really well, the Spaniard. He'll be bitterly disappointed to have been run out of that one. 13.24 plus bits. Chalimo taking it. Really good run by him. Cheptegei will also be there. Borrega, Fisher. So the 10,000 metre Olympic champion and the 5,000 metre Olympic champion will be there. Looks like Noor of the United States has also made it through. Michele will be really, really disappointed. And Kip Correa was out-nudged on the line. It was a bit of carnage there as they approached. 3.24 plus 5.6. So the fastest man in the world this year will face an anxious wait. And if they make that an honest pace in the second of the heats, if it's quicker than 3.24, they can get 10 from that second heat into the final. The fastest man in the world this year, Nicholas Kipkorir, will have to wait and see.
Great run coming home on that last 100 meters where everyone was just going for it. You saw two Americans, two Kenyans, two Ethiopians, and they were all really running to get there. I think Robinson tried to go at 300 meters and he may have went too soon, but coming into this last 100 meters, you see everybody giving it their all, coming on the outside and running hard. The Americans on the inside trying to get there, and Chelimo coming across the finish line in first.
You already know that is going to be an amazing final, and we've got incredible talent coming in the second of the heats.
And they do show him stopping his stopwatch.
There we go, there we go. Oh, we just missed it. We promised you, though, he did stop his stopwatch, which would have said 13:24.77. Give or take 100th of a second. Run quicker, or if they run faster than the first heat, if the 10th athlete here comes home inside 13:24, we will get all 5 non-automatic qualifiers from this one. There's Jethro St. Fleur from Aruba, Abdallah of Sudan, he's only 20 years of age, and Kankum, African Championship bronze medalist. Ebenyo, African silver medalist, third in Eugene here in the Diamond League with 13:10. Mark Scott of Great Britain, world indoor bronze. An area record holder. 12:57 indoors. Jacob Krop, just behind Kip Korir in that Rome Diamond League.
From the United States of America, William Kincaid.
Woody Kincaid, national champion over the 10,000 last year, attends the University of Portland. Endo, double national champion. Glivala made the final last year and was 6th in Stockholm. Mabratu, just off the podium in the World Youth a couple of years ago. Mohamed Ahmed, silver medalist in the Olympics last year, Canada's first in the men's 5,000. Got a bronze in Doha, he's in excellent form this year. Mukhtar Idris is a defending champion. He won the title in London as well. 7th in that Rome Diamond League. He has gone inside 13 this year. Kajelcha is an incredible talent. World indoor champion twice. World indoor record holder over the mile. This is a man with a point to prove. The Olympic 1500 metre champion got the silver here over 3 3/4 laps, and he was devastated. Matthew Ramsden, World Junior finalist a few years ago and an Oceanian champion. Chivate of Thailand, second from the outside, and Mashela, 5 times a national champion, including over the half marathon. He's run 60 minutes on the nose. So great stamina for the tiny South African on the extreme left of picture. Ahmed of Canada, Edris of Ethiopia, Kajelcha Ethiopia, Ingebrigtsen of Norway, and Krop of Kenya, possibly along with Mark Scott of Great Britain, will be the names to feature. 5 in this one have gone inside 13 minutes this season. But as I mentioned, if it's fast, there's a possibility we could get all 5 non-automatic qualifiers for the final in this heat. So a possible 10 out of 21, as long as they make sure it's fast, which at the moment, Gail Divas, they don't really look like they're doing. This is another absolute dawdle through the first 200 metres of their 12.5 laps.
So would you expect Ingebrigtsen to stay in the back or to move to the middle, towards the middle of the race? What's your take on that?
He won't be interested in what's going on at the front at the moment. He is yet to go sub-13 in 2022. He's a brilliant talent. He just didn't quite have enough against Whiteman, but knowing what a born winner he is, he'll be really, really smarting that he didn't take that title and add the world crown to his Olympic gold. The same thing happened to him indoors, although there was a more understandable reason for that, because back in March he finished second in the world indoors, talking about the Norwegian who's just at the very top of your picture at the left there in last place. But then he went home and tested positive for COVID a couple of days later. I think he was shocked that Reitman went past him and then quite justifiably took the inside line, and I think it threw him mentally and began to sow a few seeds of doubt. And let's not forget, Reitman didn't coast round, he ran 3:29 plus bits.
Right, yes.
It was a brilliant time and an inspired piece of tactical running. So to answer your question, Ingebrigtsen won't be interested in his pace whatsoever. If somebody half decent like Ahmed goes to the front and tries to split the pack, then you'll see Ingebrigtsen coming up on the outside and paying attention. I don't think it's a massive injection of pace yet from Ahmed, but at least he is beginning to show some signs as he motions for those coming up on his inside and outside, and it's Jacob Kropp who was second in that Rome Dynamite coming up on his outside. Woody Kincaid of America now comes through on the inside. It's only if somebody starts to really go that Ingebrigtsen will say, oh, okay, I don't mind giving away 20 metres, but I don't want to give away 50, and I am now going to move through the centre of the pack. But this is very, very slow and cautious here for this world-class group of men.
And I do know that Mark Scott and Woody Kincaid and Ahmed all trained together here in Portland. So when he was telling someone to come forward, I'm sure it was Kincaid, like, I've already taken the lead, now you go ahead and take it on this next couple laps.
And Kincaid is leading. Well, that little group, there's a little bit of a gap back towards the likes of Matty Ramsden, fourth from the back on the left of picture. He's got the tiny South African Bashela just behind him now. And Ingebrigtsen will have a look. The athletes do have the advantage of this massive screen they can look at. I mean, the facilities here are just breathtaking. So Ingebrigtsen will have had a little look, will know exactly who's leading, Woody Kincaid. And now the Olympic 1500 metre champion is just beginning to pick off a couple of back markers because there's a tiny little gap beginning to open up towards the back of a big lead group. There goes Ingebrigtsen through onto the shoulder of Matt Ramsden, who's trying to hang on to the Eritrean Babaratu, who was just off the podium in the World Juniors a couple of years ago. Just closing in and making sure he is paying attention. At some stage soon, someone is going to turn this into an honest pace because they will want to get as many of the 5 non-automatic qualifiers through from this heat rather than gift those spots to those who've already done their race at the first.
Looks like they switched back to Ahmed taking the lead, and I do know that those 3 in the front also trained with Grant Fisher, and it seems like strategy-wise, maybe they're trying to do what he did, and we saw he came through in second place.
Yeah, there's good quality up there at the front, isn't there? With the likes of Kropp. And Ahmed now just running side by side with Mark Scott. Ebenyo, African silver medalist in Mauritius earlier this year. He's got a lovely long stride. Carson with the long hair coming wide on the outside. He's like a throwback to the 70s, the great New Zealand middle and long distance runners. Dixon Quacks, John Walker, the New Zealander. The Kiwis flowing locks as he runs just behind Gravalia. Gravalia, by the way, is the first Central American to make an Olympic final. He was 12th in the 5,000 metres. The Guatemalan, he's in the middle of the pack. Oh, and in fact, no, he's not. He's decided to go to the front. 6th in Stockholm with a half-decent 7:38 at the 3,000 metres. He's got a 3:35 PB at the 15. And now the Guatemalan has thought, right, okay, look, enough's enough. I'm not sure I've got enough for the top 5, so I'm going to make this an honest pace, and I'm going to give myself the best possible chance of making it through to the final, as I did in Tokyo 12 months ago.
And that's great strategy, like you're saying. You don't know where you're going to be, but if I go out and nobody comes with me, hey, I've got a great shot of being in that top 5. He's opening the gap, actually.
Good positive running here. I like to see this. The race not panning out as he would have expected or as he would have hoped would play to his hands. So he says, right, okay, come on, let's take it to them. A little sheen of sweat on the shoulder of Jakob Ingebrigtsen, who moves past the Japanese runner, and he's now tucked in behind Matthew Ramsden. He's not panicking yet, Ingebrigtsen, but he does need to sort of start thinking about closing that gap. There's a really, really talented group who are not interested in closing down on Glivala at the moment. But Ingebrigtsen just on the extreme left of picture. Great work by the camera crew just to give us that wider shot so we can see where the Olympic 1500 metre champion is in relation to that big group. He is closing in now. And it's Glivala of Guatemala leading at the moment. And now Ingebrigtsen attaches himself to the back of that group with a Hartu of Eritrea just in front of it. Ramsden third from the right-hand side. The Aussie just needs to work a little bit here and try and close that gap and follow Ingebrigtsen. He's got a short stride in Guatemala, running on his toes, but it was effective enough to get him into the Olympic final for a moment of Central American history last year. And it's good enough to see him off the front here by about 15 metres. But Ibenyo now, the African silver medalist in Mauritius, who was third here in the Diamond League, he's now decided, okay, look, enough's enough. Let's give chase here and close down the Guatemalan. Coming round now with 5 to go, so he's got a fair old gap at the front here. But Ibenyo has decided enough's enough, and Jacob Krop is in third with Ahmed in fourth. And Ingebrigtsen slowly and surely working his way through that group, just ahead of the flowing locks of Hamish Carson of New Zealand, who set a PB of 13.17 in Spain back in May. Now Ibenyo's closed the gap, so we have Guatemala 1, Kenya 2 and 3. Ahmed's looking good for Canada, and perhaps Gravala's heroics just beginning to become undone. He's hanging on okay at the moment to the back of Ibenyo, as Krop now has the Central American athlete just in front of him with Ahmed in fourth. Ingebrigtsen is slowly and surely working his way back towards that group. The little cue tells you that Carson on the left of picture is in a non-automatic spot at the moment as they come round with 4 to go.
It's amazing to watch Ingebrigtsen, because as he is slowly, like you say, it looks like he's just, slowly as steady as she goes. Let me just get there. By the time we get to that bell lap, I'm going to be in position to where I need to be. And I think Ibenyo is saying, I'm going to open it up a little bit and see if you can handle this.
Well, in fact, Mark Scott of Great Britain, that is a group of 10. And they'll be hoping, well, certainly Mark Scott on the extreme right of picture, as we look at Ibenyo leading with Glivala, hanging on really well in second place. That was the 10, and they'll be hoping that we do get the full complement of 5 non-automatic qualifiers from this one. It needs the 10th athlete to be quicker than 13.24, which they most certainly are. So that's the 10. Ibenyo coming round now, having a little look over his shoulder with 3 to go. Ibenyo leading, Glivala in second, Krop in third, now coming up onto the Central American athlete's shoulder. Ingebrigtsen looking okay here. Perhaps he is feeling a little bit tired, and perhaps he's also producing a very clever piece of racing with trying to limit the amount of energy he has to use up in a very, very warm, sticky evening in the stadium.
Yes, he's in 7th place now, coming around, and he is still moving forward. We've got Ibenyo still leading with Krop in 2nd place. And now we've got Ahmed has moved up into 3rd. It's winding down.
This is good running by Ibenyo. He's got a lovely flowing stride to watch. Ibenyo and Krop, top 5, remember, but we've got 5 non-automatic qualifiers, and then the loping presence of Kujelcha. I've been watching him for so many years. I first saw him at the Youth Olympics in Nanjing in 14, and you could tell then he was going to be absolutely brilliant. Kujelcha's in third, Ahmed fourth, Gravalia fifth, now with Ingebrigtsen, who has worked his way through the field quite masterfully, actually. He really has. Idris is having to work quite hard. He's in no man's land with the German and Mark Scott of Great Britain trying to close him down. Remember, we could get 10 through from this one if they come home inside 13:24. Coming round now to take the bell. Now there is not much need for these guys to burn each other off. We've got 6 with only 5 automatic spots. 12:14. This is looking good for this group of 6. Idris is not in the kind of form that took him to the title in Doha and London, but he's running okay at the moment. 6 here, and they should all be okay. Krop and Kujelcha with Ingebrigtsen. Slowly and surely the Norwegian has worked his way back into this automatic spot, and that's excellent running. Krop is the second fastest man in the world this year. Gravalia running well in front of Ibenyo. Hey, look at Ingebrigtsen. They're all, look at that. Ingebrigtsen and Gravalia are saying, come on, I want to hear you. Wow. Jacob Krop coming round now. Ingebrigtsen and Gravalia waving to the crowd in second and third. Kujelcha will be there, so too will Ibenyo and Ahmed. Idris will make it, and so too Mark Scott. So we did get a big group through from this second heat. Well, that was funny down the home straight, wasn't it? Both Ingebrigtsen and Gravalia saying, yeah, come on, we want to hear you.
And the crowd actually responded and brought them home. But I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
Well, maybe just getting rid of a little bit of the frustration from finishing second in the 15. But he worked his way through really beautifully there, Jakob Ingebrigtsen. And he looked very comfortable in the end. And I'm really pleased that Jacob Krop, we've got Kujelcha through there. Excellent running. Kujelcha was 3:14. I think Mark Scott was okay, just. What a good run from Gravalia. He made history for Central America, you know, last year. They were all delighted to see him through to that final. He grabbed that race by the scruff of the neck and said, right, come on, let's get on with it. I want to make the final.
He did, and he held on. He ran a great race. Like you said, he has an interesting short stride. So now you see, so actually Ingebrigtsen started at like 120 to go, getting the crowd involved. He's not even running straight. He's running to the side, running to the crowd.
Good to see Gravalia getting involved in that as well. There was a bit of a dip on the line between Ahmed and Ibenyo, but they didn't need to.
I love it.
I wasn't sure whether he was having a bit of fun there, or whether he felt that there wasn't enough noise from the World Championship watching crowd. But anyway, he's
relaxed.
Yeah, and he always gives you something to talk about. He's doing it again. Come on. Yeah. I might have lost the 15. I'm into the final of the 5, and I'm desperate for this title. Come on, I want to hear you. This is the World Championship, for goodness sake. Really good running by Krop. That effort between him and his teammate Kip Career in the Rome Diamond League was brilliant. It was one of the best races I've seen this season. Both of them knocking chunks out of each other and coming home inside 12:47. Krop taking it then. Ingebrigtsen, the silver medalist from the 1500 metres. Gravalia making his second consecutive global final. Kujelcha, Ahmed, Ibenyo, Idris and Scott will also be there. Really enjoyed those heats of the 5,000, and we will really enjoy the two climactic moments of the evening. The women's 200 final, followed by the men's. We've got about an hour to go. If it's the middle of the night where you are,